Hello everybody, today we'll be doing resistance training and we have Kyun here as our demonstrator for later exercise. So what is resistance training? So resistance training is any exercises that causes the muscle to contract due to external resistance, and how can it help our body? Firstly, it helps improve our muscular strength, it helps us grow muscles, muscle hypertrophy, muscle endurance, and lastly muscle power. So these exercises can come in many forms. It can come in firstly obviously our body weight. Secondly, it comes in free weights like dumbbells, barbells, and the other one is it comes in sandbags or medicine balls, and the last one is weight machines. Okay, so today we'll be doing two exercises. The first exercise is the lunge and the second exercise is the plank. So both of these exercises aid very well in helping an individual with their balance, having good core strength, and also enhancing coordination. Before we start off with our exercises, it's very important to come in proper attire. So here's a good example of coming in proper attire. The reason why we want to come in proper attire is so that we do not restrict our movements and do not injure ourselves when we perform these exercises. I mentioned a few key pointers. So the first key pointer is when we're doing the exercise, we always try to get good proper form so that we have optimal results, and we also reduce the chances of getting injuries. And the second one, which is the breathing technique, which I will go through with you guys later. And before we start off with these exercises, we're going to do some dynamic warm-up. And the purpose of having dynamic warm-up is to help us improve muscle blood flow and get our muscles prepared for the exercises so that we don't injure ourselves. Alright? We have our dynamic warm-up, and we're going to go to our first exercise, which is the lunge exercise. So the lunge exercise involves mostly your quadricep muscles, your glutes muscles. However, at the same time, it also involves your adductor muscles and your core muscles for stability. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate how to do the lunge position. So to start off, we can have both our feet close together, and our hands can be at either our hips or at the side of our body. It's fine. Okay, and then we're going to go with our left leg forward this time around. So most of our weight will be on our right side. Okay, so our right leg will be planted to the ground, and we're going to go forward. So this is the first phase of the lunge. I'm going to show another angle. Okay, and how do we lower our body from that position? Is from our upper body, we try to go it vertically down and then up. I'm going to show you another position. Go vertically down. Okay, sorry. Upper body down. And then how do we get up from the position? We try to visualize our front foot. We're going to push our body up. Okay, and then another thing to take note is really important is about the breathing technique. So how do we breathe when we're doing exercise? So we inhale when we are doing the non-lifting exercise, which means to say from our starting position. So we inhale. Then when we go down, as we push ourselves up, we exhale. Okay, now Ki is going to demonstrate for us on how to do the lunge exercise. You're going to brace your core, breathe in. As you come out, you exhale. Push up through your front foot. Good. Some of the common mistakes that people do in lunge position. So we're going to change the angle so it's easier for you guys to see. So as Kyun gets into a lunge position, some of the common mistakes that people do is when their front knee goes way in front of their toes. This causes extra strain on the knee, and it's going to hurt the knee when they do the exercise. So that's one mistake to look out for. And the other mistake is people use momentum to get up from the lunge position. So what I mean by this is, when Kyun is going to get into a lunge position, he bends his back to try to get up using his momentum. So that is not going to work on the targeted muscles as mentioned earlier when we're doing the exercise. We're going to talk about how do we regress and progress from a lunge exercise. So earlier we talked about the lunge. It was a dynamic lunge exercise. So now we're going to regress it down to a static, also known as a stationary lunge. So the reason for us doing a stationary lunge exercise is so that we have lesser movement, so that we have better form in our lunge position, and we can target our muscles better, and at the same time also reducing the chances of getting injury. So I'm going to show a demonstration of how do I perform a static lunge. So we're going to go with one foot forward, one foot behind. With the same technique, where we breathe in, brace our core, and then we're going to bring our upper body vertically down. I'm going to show us a demonstration of how to do it. So one foot forward, one foot back, go back a bit more. You take a nice long stride, and bring yes. Bring upper body vertically down, good breathing technique. Alternatively, as we talk about the regression, so now we're going to talk about the progression of the lunge exercise. So we're going to use weights for our lunge exercise, for progression of our lunge exercise. So we're gonna use back the same technique of the dynamic lunge position. So we're gonna go feet close to each other. So we're gonna go forward. So our left foot is gonna go forward. So weight is gonna be on our right side. And we're gonna go forward, put the weight down. So I'm just gonna show a different angle. So it's important as we progress, we have to remember that we're gonna keep our front knee behind or in line with our ankle instead of going in front of our toes. And we try to really use our glutes, squeeze our glutes and our quadriceps to try to push us up instead of using momentum to push us up during the exercise. We've done our first exercise, now we're going to move on to our second exercise. The exercise is called plank. So the plank is an isometric exercise which involves your abdominal muscles like your rectus abdominis, your oblique muscles, internal and external, and it also involves your upper body like your trapezius, and at the same time also involving your back like your rhomboids muscles or erector spinae muscles. So how do we get into the plank position? So we're going to start off by lying face down, hands palms down so that we can engage our upper body when we're in the plank position. So toes in contact with the floor instead of not contact with the floor. So toes in contact with the floor. We're going to lift our knees up and try to brace our core while we're doing the exercise so that we maintain a neutral spine. So instead of going up, we're going to breathe in. He's going to demonstrate for us how to do, he's going to demonstrate to us the plank exercise. So your palms face down, toes in contact with the mat. Okay, as you go on, you're going to lift his knees up. Alright, that's good. Okay, so some of the common mistakes that people do is when they do the plank position, they tend to have their hips higher than their upper body. So this is a very good example, a really obvious mistake that Kyun is doing right now. His hips are way higher than his body, so this will not engage his abdominal muscles. So what Kyun should do is try to lower his hips such that it's in line with his back. Then the other common mistake people usually do is the opposite of having high hips is lowered hips. So people start to find that the exercise is easy because their hips are lower than their back and is not in line, and the muscles that I mentioned earlier is not involved and you will not be engaged. So show me an example, the common mistake. About the regression and progression of the plank exercises. Okay, so for the regression exercise, so instead of having no contact with our knees on the mat, so now we're going to have our knees in contact with the mat while we do the plank. So with the same technique of our palms down, trying to maintain a straight back, brace our core. And the other way to regress with a plank exercise, it can be either with contact with the knees or without contact with the knees, is to always lower the repetition. So instead of going from 30 seconds, you can cut it down to 20 seconds or 15 seconds in fact, so you can have better movement, better form, and overall targeting the correct muscles. So as mentioned earlier, we talked about how the knees will be in contact with the mat instead of his toes so that he has better form and can engage his core muscles better. So you can see he's going to try to maintain a straight back, bracing his core. Up a bit, go up, raise the core a bit more. Okay, so now we're going to go into the progression of the plank exercise. So alternatively, you can either increase the timeline of the plank exercise. Instead of going from 30 seconds, you can increase it to 45 seconds. And another method you can incorporate when you're doing a progression for the plank exercise is to we're going to go into the same technique with palms down, engaging our upper body as well, flex our core, and then now we're going to lift either of our leg up while maintaining a straight back. So it's really important while anyone is doing this exercise is to always maintain that core bracing and maintain a straight back while they're doing the exercise so that they're able to target the muscles involved. So he's going to show an example. So we're done with the exercises, two exercises. We have discussed the common mistakes that people perform in the lunge and the plank, and we discussed how do we progress and regress from either of these exercises. So thank you, Kyun. So now we're going to do a cool down exercise to relax our muscles so that we get better recovery.